Welcome back, everybody, to the Hearthstone Gold Club World Cup. For anyone joining us right now, this is Gia, joined by Nai for the constructed portion. How are you doing, my friend?
Hi, Gia. Good morning, good night for everyone. I don't know your time zone, but here is quite in the morning. Yeah, I'm doing fine. I'm really excited to see the constructed portion of today. And what I wanted to say about the battleground thing, I love it to see Simei kicking their asses on the
Right, Simi.
second part.
That's
Yeah.
right. For anybody who didn't manage to catch the first part of today, fear not. The results are on the Gold Club website. And after the second lobby, where Simi took the first place for G2, G2 is actually second now in standings for Group B, where T1 is actually on top. So we're seeing complete opposite from yesterday, where it was a Chinese team on top and the international teams were struggling a little bit, although Liquid was in second place. Over in Group B, it is both the international teams that have been killing it in Battlegrounds so far. But now we are entering the constructed portion of the day. There will be two matches, and the first one will be between T1 and LF. Did you get a chance to go over the deck list tonight? Are there any of them that's really standing out for you?
Yes, actually, I analyze all the deck list, and we have a few that are different from each other. So on the melee druid, on the druid sides, we have the hybrid druid from the LF, but for T1 we have the melee druid, the one with the imprisoned satyr, the germination, and Gepeto and Alex and those kind of stuff. So I'm really curious what kind of decks they are trying to snipe with that.
Yeah, I'm very excited for that as well. I imagine with a very ant control type combo deck like that, it's something that they want to line up against Priest. But we will see if that will be left up by the other teams, because we are going to have a very complex ban phase. And we get to see a little bit about the roster from both sides. I'm sure Orange is a very familiar face from T1 to the LF team. There's also a bunch of big names here. Yue Ying probably being the most famous one in the global scene. But we can see here from T1, famous players no matter where you look. Sixo is for Battlegrounds, but Surrender, a flex spot, is actually also able to play in Constructed. Which of these guys do you think will be the strongest in Constructed?
Well, I would go with Core Control. He's so stable, like for many years on the scene, and he is doing so great on Grandmaster. And he like, you go in Twitch and you see him streaming like all the day. So I think Core Control is the one to keep the eye on.
And for LF, there was, aside from Yue Ying, also Reconnect, Blow, and Zhou Lang. New players, I have to say, at least to me, definitely they have had a lot of experience in the Chinese scene, but those are not names I'm very used to seeing from the Masters Tour. But if I'm looking at the previous results over in GTC leading up to this, Team Lucky Future was actually one of the top 4 performers in Constructed. So that's why they were able to make it this far. And I'm expecting great things from over on that front. I don't think they have any representatives for Battlegrounds, so they're here specifically to play in Constructed. And there's also many different deck lists that we have to talk about. Nai, you mentioned the Malagos Druid over from T1 as standing out to you. Do you have anything to say about LF's Paladin?
Yes, LF Paladin, they have the the Paladin we talked about yesterday. It's the Librarian one. And I want to see, because yesterday, even though the Paladins wasn't banned, there was no Pala in the action. So
Yeah.
I want to see if we will see some today.
Yeah, because of this format, even if some decks are left up after the ban phase, because only 4 decks are banned out of 10, players actually have a pool of 6 decks to choose from before we actually start the last hero standing phase, which becomes a best of 5. So there is a lot of mind games possible here for picks, and in the overall power level, if you're left with 6 decks, I don't imagine the Paladin and Shaman will be people's first idea, but we did see Shaman piloted from Team yesterday. So there are flex spots where you can counter queue these decks into. Nai, do you think that Libram Paladin could find a particular matchup? And if you're bringing this deck, what do you want to face it up against?
Yeah, I don't have any experience with Librarian Paladin. I remember on the when we had the expansion released, like streamers like Egg Waffle tried to make a really good version of it, but they didn't have a really success about it. So I don't really know what they are they are trying to snipe with it, because I feel like Pala Murloc, if you are going to bring some Pala, you have to bring a Pala, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have to, I would go with Pala Murloc, that you can snipe some other matchups like Druid, or like even Hunter or Rogue. I don't know. I don't know if Librarian Paladin is that consistent.
That's right. This is an archetype. When the expansion was first announced, I thought Libram Paladin would be pretty good, honestly. I thought,
Yeah.
isn't it insane if you get like a 5 mana Libram of Hope after all of those discounts? But it turned out nobody was playing it at all. And then Aldor Attendant got buffed to 1 mana. And then it was still not being played at all. And it took nerfs to the rest of the field for this deck to even be considered. But we've seen glimpses of it in Grandmasters and in Masters Tour. I have to say it's not really proven itself yet. But if there's a format where Libram Paladin can maybe shine, I think it is one where there's so many varieties of decks being brought. But enough about the Paladin. Let's talk about the decks that you are most normally expecting to see, the most popular classes. Demon Hunter.
Well, yeah, Demon Hunter, they have control ones, both of the teams. This was one thing that surprised me really well, because I love Control Demon Hunter. So I'm excited to see if they will let them open, because yesterday we saw some Demon Hunter open, right?
Yes, there was a lot of Demon Hunter yesterday, but that was all of the tempo version. And yesterday you were saying that if we have to choose one particular archetype for Demon Hunter, you're thinking tempo was the bring for this tournament. So are you surprised to see that there's some control variants from both of these teams?
Yes, I think they was trying to to bite the thing, like, I will bring Cultural Demon Hunter. Let's see if they let it open. Because I know if I bring Deep Temple Demon Hunter, it will be banned anyway. So I don't know.
Yeah, there's a bit of bait and switch opportunities going on here. I think from a fellow caster that we have here, I think Language Hacker at one tournament was bringing a Highlander mage without Zephyrus so that it wouldn't bait a ban or something like that. I don't know. I sometimes look in the GM Discord and find the silliest things, but there is that layer of strategy where you can bring a suboptimal or maybe not the most popular archetype for a particular class, and maybe that will trick your opponent into thinking, I don't have to ban this, I can leave it up, and then suddenly it's actually very strong. And I think the other big benefit for Control Demon Hunter is that in LHS, I think you need to have different archetypes to cover each other's weaknesses. So if we're looking at the most simplified version of have an aggro deck to beat the greedy decks, have a greedy deck to beat the control decks, and have a control deck to beat the aggro decks, well, there are not many pure control decks that fit that archetype in the meta right now. Demon Hunter, I would say, is one of the few that can be built purely for control. So I think there's a lot to be explored there. As for the bans, we have them in right now. Any surprises here for you, Nate?
Let's see. Yes, one thing that surprised me a lot actually was the Warlock being banned every round. So I don't know if it's the deck that can beat like 3 times, because you have a lot of counters of Warlock, right? But I don't know. And for the other ones, it's not a really surprise. And we have a Demon Hunter opened, yeah.
Yeah, that one is, I think, pretty spicy to me, especially since I would more expect for one team to leave up Demon Hunter if it's a different archetype. For example, if you're bringing tempo and you're saying this is the absolute bring, then you might not have the respect for control. But because both teams are bringing control, you'd expect that they'd have the same view on that archetype. So we'll see if T1 has some ace in the hole or a good strategy to beat their control mirrors. as for the player winnings, Reconnect, I have to say I'm not very familiar with him here. He made the finals of WCG, which is a relatively large tournament, but also a collegiate league player, and maybe has run into Eddie at some point, because I know that Eddie was playing a college tournament in China pretty recently. But Orange,
Yeah.
there's not much that needs to be said about him.
Yeah, but it's a lot of money for both of them, right? On earnings.
Yeah, it looks like for the ratings of LF, though, even the Chinese casters who handled the ratings for the Chinese players don't necessarily think that Reconnect is excelling at anything. He was just well-rounded, but also no extremely good strengths, I would say. So I would pit him as a bit of an underdog right here, but we're starting off with Rogue versus Mage. You're arguing a favor here, Nate. Do you have any consensus on what you think is favored now?
Yeah, I think this matchup is pretty even. Like, I think Rogue is a bit favorite, but everything can happen with Highlander Mage.
Yeah, as you were saying, there's a lot of possibilities to get the box online early, even after the nerf to Dragon Caster. But beyond the box, there's still things you can do to get a leg up in this matchup. I'm definitely looking at Mana Saber sticking early to kind of cheat out a great curve into Reno the Relicologist. And when Rogue is off the board, they can sometimes have a very hard time dealing with multiple threats on the other side. But we have to note that this is the secret version from T1 and not the stealth. Do you have any thoughts for that?
Yeah, I think the secret one version is really good against the mage, right? Because we have the Blackjack Stunner who can sap the big threats on the board and gain some tempo. So yeah, I think it's better than the stealth one.
Yeah. And already the opener for Orange is looking pretty strong. He has Edwin on the coin and a bunch of cheap minions, but this looks like there's going to be some of these one drops thrown away. I think you would definitely, ideally, want Shadow Step to go along with this Edwin, or perhaps a better target for his Praise Galakron.
Yes, he definitely wants that, but a big early Van Cleef is a good way to start the day, right?
Wow, he keeps the Van Cleef alone and none of the Praise Galakrons. Pretty interesting, and gets Hanar with Prep and Secret for his trouble. It's an interesting way to play this curve. When do you think is the turn when he'll use the coin, Nai?
Yeah, I think since he has the jewelry on the hand, he has to think a lot of in this turn, right? If he wants to go with the 2 mana drop, or if he wants to put the 1 mana drop right now, because on turn 3 you maybe want to go with Cliff, Coin, Prep, Secret, and a drop one. It's a really big clip, right?
Yeah, that looks pretty good to me as well, getting it to be an 8/8 very early on. But if you go all in for the Cleave turn as early as now, it means he won't have a secret to pair with Hanar. Do you think it's worth expending that combo to get the immediate big Edwin?
I think so. Like, Mage doesn't have a really good way to deal with a big cliff on the beginning of the game. Only if he has like Ray of Frost to gain some time. But even though I think it's the right call here,
yeah,
I would go right now.
I have to agree with you, especially since you brought up a great point. The best the mage can do is freeze them, or freeze plus Doomsayer is the only real, say, answer for the Edwin. Instead of just a stall mechanic, because the removal options for Mage come around when they get Rolling Fireball or perhaps Reno the Relicologist, which is later on. But Orange is going to choose to be a bit patient here and develop the Hanar. What do you think are the upsides of this play?
Yeah, Mage, again, doesn't have how to deal with a 1/4 right now as well. So I think it was a really good play for Orange at this point, and the turn back he can go with a cliff and keep the value of the secret, right?
Yeah, aside from the value of the see that this play also allows him more flexibility, because had he gone for the big cleave, then his next play would not have an activator for Miscreant immediately, or it would be a Hanar off curve. So Orange is delaying a little bit now, but now since he gets to immediately discover a Paladin secret, it's an extra
Yeah.
card to go with Edwin and all of the mana spent.
Yes, it would be great. And now Orange has drawn another secret, so he has to choose which one he wants to. But the thing is, Mage would probably contest this board with a minion, so I think the poison one was the right choice.
Yeah, I like Ambush better than Dirty Tricks as well here, since Orange has things to do for the following turn. Reconnect, you're right. There's no good removal spells available going into 4 mana. I guess Orange would rather expect something like Twilight Drake or Bone Wraith. And of those choices, Reconnect has the Twilight Drake, but does he have time?
No, he doesn't have actually, and now he has to go with the Twilight Drake, right?
Yeah, I mean,
or he can try to draw, but only Ray of Frost would serve on this matter, and I don't know if it is enough, right?
Yeah, I mean, also Ice Barrier, but that's really not helping very much, right? It's only not providing any way to deal with the Edwin. Granted, the Twilight Drake is not guaranteed to help with the Edwin, but Reconnect is just hoping that it sticks so he can deal some damage and maybe clean up with the Rolling Fireball. But he gets the bad news that the secret was Ambush, and the secret package for T1 is just 2 copies of Ambush and 2 copies of Dirty Trick. So kind of a 50-50 that Reconnect did not win there from his perspective.
Yes, maybe the winning play here was like try to draw to try to find Zephyrus. But yeah, I don't know, because this 4/7 doesn't contest like the Dearly, but not the Cliff, who is your big threat right now.
Yeah. I like where your head's at, because it did look like that bad of a situation where Reconnect maybe had to go for just the insane top decks. He's taking a safer approach, but is going to have a lot of damage pushed to the face right here. Orange, I love this graphic. We can see what the secrets are. Snake Trap and Dirty Tricks and Redemption.
You are right. It's really, really nice to have this graphic.
And the Snake Trap is also very annoying for Reconnect. Any damage added onto the board, or any health rather, is going to mess with his hope of surviving until Reno can clear the Edwin. But even then, there's not much hope of even surviving that long.
Yeah. The secrets are really annoying here. Like, you have to do some bad plays to test them, so yeah, it's really, really annoying for the mage. And like I said, the secret version is way better than the step 1 against mage.
Yeah, from Reconnect's perspective, he knows that there's not really any hunter secrets he needs to worry about if the turn is just playing a spell. For Paladin, though, Never Surrender is the one that he really doesn't want to see, buffing the Edwin even more. But if we're looking at a 2-turn plan for Reconnect to deal with this, it actually involves using, the Rolling Fireball right now into Reno. So he's saying, I'm just going to hope you don't have immediate lethal to give myself the chance of actually clearing the board. And I think that is much more wise than just going for a delay with the Ice Barrier.
Yes, and on the case, Orange doesn't use Eviscerate on his deck, so it's really fine to go with that.
Well, he has 3 damage that he needs to look for right now for immediate lethal, but even if he doesn't get it, all he has to do is build up same annoying secrets, or he could generate some lackeys. I think that Orange knows
with
that.
Cobalt Lackey would be lethal, right? Because of the Shadow Step.
Right.
But I don't know if he has to go with that. Like, he's in a really good spot here.
Yeah, I mean, even if he doesn't have to go for lethal, technically the Miscreant is more damage on board, and it plays around Reno a little bit because it
Yeah.
would total the health to 11. So I think even if he doesn't hit the Cobalt Lackey, it's totally fine here.
Yeah, and
And
he has a really good Lucky. He can try to find the Viscerate or some damage.
yeah, Cold Blood or Shiv, sure. Cold Blood, not. It's honestly just a formality for Orange what to pick at this point, because for Reconnect, we're seeing the nerf to Dragon Caster play a big role, at least from Orange's perspective. He doesn't have to worry yet about Dragon Caster into box, or he didn't have to think about can I push any extra damage immediately, because there's literally nothing Reconnect can do to immediately answer this board on the
Yes,
mana he
I
has.
think only if he draws like Nova right now, he can have a shot. And
Right.
then draw Zephyrs into Brawl.
Yeah. That does seem like the actual out, and he is digging for it, knows that the Reno's not enough, the Ice Barrier's not enough, and he doesn't get it though.
Yes, this is a really good start for T1.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see if the teams from the international teams, Gia, they can do something different than yesterday, right? Because yesterday we didn't saw the teams of the international going well.
Yeah.
The China was really good.
Yeah, you bring up a great point, especially since there was actually a priest sweep that happened yesterday, 3-0 from the Chinese team versus the international team. And that actually means that, or sorry, I actually thought that that would mean people could think about banning priest for today, but we saw that both priests were left up on both sides. Is that a surprise to you, Nai?
No, actually not, because like we said yesterday, like Priest doesn't have a real counter, but you can face Priest as Rogue or as Mage. Like you have some good matchups to try it. So I don't think Priest is priority of bans here.
Okay. Well, I'm asking you that also because now that the rogue has taken a win, I think that priest is a pretty fair counter cue into that also. So, of the remaining decks for LF, do you think that they would look at their priest to queue up against the rogue, or perhaps the demon hunter that was actually left up by T1?
Yes, and the Control Demon Hunter is it, it's not like that good against Rogue. Like I struggle a lot to gain against Rogue actually. Like I played a lot of Control Demon Hunter before the nerfs. So yeah, I don't know. And with the nerfs, I think it will be even bad, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I when I was first looking at this matchup when it popped up in Master Tour APAC, I thought that Demon Hunter might have a leg up against Rogue because all of the removal tools might actually allow them to get to their combo. But it turns out it's very hard to put together enough damage as Demon Hunter when you're busy spending time removing things. And then Rogue,
Yeah.
if it goes into the late game, will probably not run out of value if they hit their Galakron early enough. So between the options for LF, I'm more expectant to see Priest, but I have to admit I didn't see all of the classes that they left
Yeah, I,
up.
I think I think maybe Druid as well. They have Demon Hunter, Druid, Priest, Mage no, but Paladin and Shaman.
Yes, so if there's Druid, I think that's a pretty good candidate for a counter queue as well into Rogue. Um, if they're able to hit the Glowfly, I think that's very, very effective against Rogue. Keep in mind, this is LF's Druid, so it's not the Malagos version.
Yeah.
It still has Fungal Fortunes and the Glowfly Swarm. So between Druid and Priest, would you have a preference facing Rogue?
I would go with Druid, I think, because I like Druid more.
Mhm.
And I feel like for Rogue to deal with like Go Flies and then the Soul of the Forest and those kinds of stuff, if they doesn't have like Flick or something like that immediately, is really, really bad for them. And yeah, and to clear like big boards like the Mount Seller stuff is really, really tough for the Rogue.
We did just get word that LF Blow will be the next one representing Team LF here. His results most notably came from 2 years ago in the Gold Premier. Both seasons actually managed a top 8. And if the Premier League is anything like a Masters Tour, making a top 8 is completely impressive here. Very consistent from him. So I'm expecting to see, oh, wow, a different spread of his strengths. I think the Chinese casters gave him higher marks in every single parameter compared to his teammate. But still, I think we were very nice to the Western players, but I don't think you can give Orange anything less than full marks for experience, wouldn't you say?
Yes, for sure. Like for Orange, he has like the full package, right? He went to World Championship, he went to ACT system really well. He went to Grandmaster, even though he got relegated. But yeah, he's a really good player, Gia.
And we are going to see the Priest queued up from Blow here. That was our first suspicion that they might want to queue into Rogue. But the stats actually have it that Rogue looks a little bit favored here. I am not sure if this is coming from just the GCWC stats or Chinese tournament circuit or from ladder stats. But I have to say that the more I've cast this matchup, the more I feel like Priest is slightly favored. I'm not saying it's heavily favored, but I'm hearing you agree. Why would you say that Priest is slightly favored?
Yes, this matchup ends when Rogue starts to fatigue, right? And if Rogue doesn't get the value they have to on this between fatigue or not, they are going to lose it. So yeah, I think if Priest has like Galakron the early game, he's in a really good spot.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think you and Hacker actually cast this matchup from Team Liquid and IG yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Where Language Hacker was talking about how when the Priest can copy the Rogue's Galakron, they can take your value and multiply your value, and then the Rogue has to deal with the original value on top of their own value. So it just does go in the favor of the Priest if it does get to fatigue. But the stats did say that Rogue looks to be slightly favored according to the GCWC numbers at least. So when Rogue gets a win in this matchup night, what do you think is necessary to give them an advantage?
Yes, Rogue, he has the facility to build a lot of boards, and sometimes Priest can respond that boards, right? Like he respond 1, 2, 3, but like the fourth one, it's really tough. So if Rogue manages to build a lot of boards and resilient boards, I think he will win for sure.
Yeah, and resilient is definitely a key word here because priest removal tends to be very discreet in what it does, right? So Shadow Word Death, you don't want to go all in on one Edwin if one death can get rid of it. It might be smarter to divide your resources to build a medium-sized Edwin and a medium-sized questing adventurer. And also, if the priest is running Shadow Madness, for example, you don't want to give a very good Death Rattle minion for them to steal. I'm looking at the list from LF, and they do have that one copy of Shadow Madness. I think it has kind of gone in and out of the list, even for 2 copies. Are you a fan of still including 1 copy, Nai?
Yes, it's always good to have one, right? On the beginning of this meta post nerf, we weren't seeing so much Shadow Madness on the lists, but I like that we are seeing it now because it makes your opponent makes bad plays to play around Shadow Madness. So yeah, I like
true.
it.
Maybe
and
not quite. Go ahead.
Against Rogue in specific, Shadow Madness is really good against the secret, the 2/3 with the poison, right?
Right, the ambush token. I don't know the name of that in English either.
Yeah.
I'm sure you know the name of it in Portuguese. So between the two of us, obviously I have less total knowledge. But the Shadow Madness, I have to say, is also very tricky to play around in the mage versus priest matchup. We were seeing a rush to kill off your own Solarian in that particular matchup. But for this one, I think rogue players will have to just be most cognizant of how they divide their threats. Not too many lackeys into a Breath of the Infinite, for example. And also, they need to keep the pressure up turn after turn because I noticed that the point when Priest really starts to run away with it is when Priest can stick a big minion into Apotheosis, and then
Yeah.
the rogue is like, oh no, all of my damage is undone, and I have to start from the top.
Yes, for sure. But as we said, like it's a secret rogue, so if it if it happens, the rogue has the possibility of using the blackjack stunner. But yeah, when you build a board and you give the damage, but you leave one minion on the board
Yeah.
for priest, and they have apotheosis every time. So yeah, it's really annoying.
You heard it here, folks. If you left one minion, they have it every time. You mentioned that the use of Blackjack Stunner is very useful in the matchup. Do you say that that's actually preferable to run the secret package versus the stealth package versus priest?
Yes, for sure. Because
Okay.
the removals of the priest, they go pretty well against the stealth package, right? The Breath
Mhm.
of Infinite or even the penance. So yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But we're starting the match now. Already double Disciple of Galakrond available for blow. So immediate invokes and annoying minions already available for him here. Orange though, the hand, this is not really something that's common, but I am honestly looking at whether Shield of Galakrond could be a keep in this matchup just as an on-curve play that is a decent sized threat.
Yeah. But priests nowadays they have some small minions on the early game, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, you want to from the start to try to contest them because, as you said, I think this matchup ends up with who gets the board first. And now with the invokes of priest, they has a lot of possibilities to have his own board and not only control the game. And from this invoke, we have Madame Lazio.
Oh my goodness. Already, the endless value train is starting for Priest. But for Orange, we did see him hold on to Seal Fate, which I absolutely agree with. That is a premium invoke card for Rogue in the early game. But already, the Disciple challenges the Spy Mistress. I don't think Orange quite wants to waste the Spy Mistress just trading into a 1-2. So he's developing Dirty Secrets here instead. Or sorry, was that an ambush? Dirty Secrets.
Dirty Secrets.
Yes. I love our little icon there. Oh my gosh, he gets Reliquary of Souls as well. He's just becoming Zoo Priest.
Yes.
And that's kind of a disaster for Orange because with the play of the Dirty Tricks, I think he was really hoping that Blow would go for something like Thought Steal to follow up the curve and then give Orange something more proactive to do. At the very least, though, the Reliquary allows him a good Seal Fate target.
Yes. And this is not a Lucky that you want to see, right? The Witch Lucky here. I think it probably is one of the worst to pick up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Orange wanted some more value, and Draconic could have helped him there. But Blue gonna go ahead and look at 3 out of 4 of Orange's cards in hand. That's a ton of information. And with the Time Rip in hand, I'm definitely interested in this preparation. But do you think
Yes, me
there's a better
too.
option?
No, I think it's that or even ambush is not that bad, but I don't know if Priest has the tempo to do the secret, right?
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing is, though, he will already get discounts on cards soon because the Fate Weaver will
Yeah.
be active. He already invoked twice with the two
Yeah.
best invoke cards in the game. So he could be thinking that he'd rather get a more expensive card to fit in with the discounts.
Yeah,
I still think Prep would be my choice, though.
Yes, it would be a 1 mana secret. It's really, really nice, but he went with the preparation.
Yep. And Blow was still holding on to the coin because he knows that this is Dirty Tricks and doesn't want to give Orange the draw for free. But that's a pretty big top deck for Orange now.
Yes, and I think he will go with the cliff, but we are already seeing the time rip on the blue hand, so yeah. The cliff
Yep.
already have a destiny.
I mean, for orange though, you have to do what the hand tells you. For this particular rogue hand, it's not value oriented at all. It's giving him a
No.
chance at an aggro out. If Blow does not have the Shadow Word Death or the Time Rip, it's not very high odds, but in that world, orange can run away with damage. So I would advocate for playing the Edwin here alongside Ambush. I'm just not sure if he wants to evolve his Spy Mistress or play the Witchy for no value.
Yeah, I don't think so. Maybe the Witch Lucky with that value, it's okay, but I don't think to evolve the mystery, it was a choice.
Yeah, actually, from a 3-1 going up to a 2-drop, it's not actually likely to gain that many stats, so makes a lot of
Yes.
sense. And Orange will hope that this 8-8 does not get immediately answered, but he's gonna get the bad news. At the very least, though, the use of spell will trigger his first dirty tricks.
Yes, and now Blue has to decide if he wants to use the coin or if he will use the preparation already. I like to keep the coin.
Yeah, even though it floats a little mana to use prep, I think
Yeah.
because the rest of the hand is heavy on minions instead of spells, and the prep is specifically used for spells only, I think it's pretty smart to hold on to the coin here instead.
Yes, you already have the Muro Zone. Oh my god.
Wow, the disrespect!
Yeah.
He wants to stay on curve. He says the 8 damage is not important at all. And you know what? I'm kind of on board because Orange doesn't have stuff to do, right? If the Edwin
Yes.
takes a value trade, you're fine. If you take 8 to the face, you're fine.
Yes, and you don't give cards to your opponent to play, so yeah, it was really smart from Brio.
Okay, yeah. Despite him taking a little bit of damage this turn, he knows that he will more than make the value back for the options that he denies Orange on this particular turn. And you're already seeing the effects. If alongside this questing, Orange had 2 more cards, if that was, say, Praise Galakron, then the questing could have gotten a lot bigger.
Yes, and since he have the Veil Weaver on the hand, he can get a lot of value with the penance or with the Time Reaping. So
oh my gosh, you're right. That is so dirty. I would expect Orange to end up trading this poison though.
Yeah.
So it's just gonna be the one time rip that gets value, but you know what? That's more than enough for Blow in this spot. So it's kind of obvious that Orange is on the back foot here. What do you think he needs to draw to put himself back in the game?
It's difficult because even Togwoggle wouldn't be a good draw, right? Because he doesn't have a Lucky here. So I think like Kronks or Shield of Galakron are okay draws. Okay, now he has the Jewelry.
Yeah, Shadow Jeweler Hanar can get him, well, a small train of secrets.
Yes, and the Backstab, it was a really good top deck because now he can deal with the Veil River.
Is there any room to maybe go for a double questing plus backstab play here instead? It's kind of aggressive, but maybe he gets more value from Hanar next turn, and maybe Blow doesn't have the answer for the next round of minions.
Yes, I like that play actually. But he goes with the Jewelry.
Okay, Snipe is the best use of mana, but he's gonna take the Paladin Secret to reroll for better secrets. But notably, if you play Paladin, you cannot discover Paladin after, and the same for every other class.
Yeah. Yes, not good secrets here, right?
They're all terrible. Bamboozle does not work well with questing. Unless you just play it and don't buff the questing, then you still end up with a 6-drop. That's fine, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, Blow immediately testing for Noble Sacrifice, sees it's not there.
Hi again. And he will make use of his Pyromancer so he can get rid of that. Okay.
Orange, if he top decks Blackjack Stunner, this could be a completely different story. But for now, the hand doesn't synergize well together very much.
Yes, but Praise Galacron is a okay top deck here, right?
Yeah.
To make the question turn.
Yeah, a decent sized questing. And if he gets Kobold Lackey, that could be huge to help clean up Blow's other minions because there's Shadow Step that can be paired with it. Goblin can take a value trade after a secret is played.
Yeah. Not
Or
that
he
good
can,
because it will die anyway because of Pyromancer.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Maybe the play is Shadow Step the Goblin and then Dagger the Pyro. It's not much value on the Shadow Step, but it's essentially saving the questing from a trade on board. So I like that.
Yes, me too.
However, Blow is not running out of answers whatsoever.
Yeah, and here Orange can keep for sure the question with 1 health because I know they has another Wild Pyromancer. But yeah, the Breath of Infinite here would leave him with two of health, though it doesn't make any difference, right?
Blow also still not threatened very much by the questing. He will deal with it with the prep into Shadow Word Ruin. Pretty dirty, this board swing. And honestly, he's not even had to use his most powerful cards yet. The Murazan is waiting in hand. The Katrina can revive. Even a small minion would be pretty tough for Orange to deal with at this point. Orange is running out of threats, but at least picks up Miscreant. Another chance at Draconic Lackey. He needs value.
Yes, he needs value, but I don't know if he has the time to it. Because Blue built up a really good board here, and the things will get worse and worse from here, like with Katrina Muerte or with the Murozones.
Okay, Draconic and Kobold is a pretty good combination to get. He can also rush the questing after it gets buffed to take a value trade onto the Fate Weaver if he wants. But the problem is the card actually has a questing underneath it, so I'm not sure if he'll want to pop it immediately.
Yeah, he can trade on the 3/6 as well, so let's see.
Okay, looks like he's not going to rush value trade into the Fate Weaver, but into the questing instead. I think that's completely fine. 3/6 is not a huge threat. When the Onyxia picked up at least allows Orange a good way to follow up this board if it gets cleared again.
Yes, and here Blue doesn't have a really good way to spend his mana. Like, I think he wants to kill this question, right? So he has to go with Apotheosis here.
And even though it looks like not the most convenient trades, I think Blow is totally fine as long as his health total is at a nice place, and it completely is. He's just waiting for Orange to do a power play so he can respond with the Murazon, and there is the Galacron for Orange.
Yes, but I think I would go with Onyxia here, maybe.
The full trade into Onyxia completely refills the board and trades off the Fate Weaver. That looks clean to me as well.
Yes, and the Murozone doesn't get the battle cry, so it would be like a 8/8 for him, so yeah.
Yeah, looks great to me. From Orange's perspective, he's seen one Time Rip, but no Breath of the Infinite. But with only 2 cards in Blow's hand, I think it would have to be very specific minion combination of spells to deal with Orange's entire board. And the upside of it is that it builds such a wide board that the Galacron for the Priest is not gonna have a high chance of being effective. Oh my gosh, this top deck.
Yeah, but this top deck, yeah.
Shadow Word
and so Mirror would be another top deck, but yeah. Ooh, another Helicarry.
Oh my gosh, that means he can put 2 primes in his deck. I don't know. Orange has to know that the value game is really not working out for him here. So he has to find a way to leverage this board that he currently has into an aggressive push. Time for
Yes,
Galakrond.
and he doesn't have a way even to deal with Katrina, so
Yeah.
it doesn't look good for him. Maybe Kronks? No,
Okay.
not Kronks. Okay.
Secret Stunner looks great here.
Mhm.
It will resummon something if it gets played again this turn, but at least Orange will maintain tempo and he can develop the ambush.
Yeah. And here Morozone looks really good.
Oh my gosh.
He will get the secret, he will get the card he will play after that.
Well, it won't get the battle cry of
Yeah.
Galakrond, but it will at least give him the hero power if he wants it. I don't think the healing hero power is very useful for Blow at the moment.
Yeah.
Between those options, I'm not sure if that's actually better than just playing Katrina again.
Yes, but you know the
Oh.
secrets of your opponent, so I don't know if you want the chance to have a 2-3 with the poison only with Katrina on board.
Well, this Galakrond is the fully invoked version. It's not the greatest minions that he'll be killing, but that looks good to me. Can get the weapon online and just prepare for, at this point, Blue knows he's ahead and he has a good response in Murazond if Orange does anything strong, so he can have all his bases covered with this Galakrond.
Yeah, it was a really good top deck here.
And now for Orange, he's stabilized, but I don't know how he can put together 32 damage. I guess it involves starting with hero power every turn.
Yeah. Yes, he can start with the Galakrond's Invoke. He went with the hero power, okay.
Fishing for some more Draconic Lackeys. You saw the difference that Onyxia made for him from one Draconic Lackey. It gave Blow another round of threats to have to deal with. So any additional Draconic Lackey can give Orange some signs of life. But for now, these are pretty low value.
Yes. Like I mentioned earlier, Rogue has to do that, right? He has to build boards, and sometimes Priest doesn't have how to deal with.
It's going to be the signal for Blue to play his own Murazon. It's going to get some great board presence from Orange's cards. Ambush also.
And now he knows that he has Bamboozle there. So I don't know if he wants to attack the Galakrond's minion.
Yeah, he really doesn't have to, right? As long as he penisses the 2-3, Orange is the one who's incentivized to be aggressive here, so Orange will be trading. I think this is really smart from Blow to hold on to this.
Yeah.
Oh!
Toggle Woggle after the Murazone. This is really good.
Yes, that sounds like Orange's last lifeline here. The wand could help him pick up Flick, I think would be huge to deal with that Murazon swing. Any other cards that come to mind from the wand that you want to get?
Kronks.
Right.
Always good.
Yep. Yeah, this is the time to possibly go all in for Orange now.
Yeah.
This Priest list is not running Plague of Death, so as far as the wide board clears, Orange really just had to be worried about Galakrond and Kronks and Murazon, of which he's seen 2 from the Priest.
Yes, and here Orange has really good choices. Of course, he doesn't want to sap the Murazon on this turn, but
oh my gosh, is Zeraku? Okay, well,
I didn't understand this play for Orange. I think I rather he sap the taunt, flick the Murazone, and then try to trade on this one.
The smaller minion.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, he could be thinking that if it's a very expensive minion, then he wants to have the clunkiest option bounced back to Blow's hand.
Yeah.
It's tough to say though without knowing the average outcome of an 8 drop. But that's the first reliquary available for Blow. He's gonna choose to play Zeraku though, because he can immediately summon the 6/6 with his weapon attack.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
Oh.
Still dies, but he'll take 8.
Okay. And here, Orange used the Praise Galacron, the Shield of Galacron. And I don't know if I like that because of the mirror, the soul mirror, right? Like he wasn't going to die, but that way he would.
Yeah, that's a good point. Didn't catch that. It's looking to me like the flick has to be Shadow Step to deal with the Zeraku, and you cannot attack face before you do that. He could start off with Seal Fate on the 6/6 and see if there's some better way he wants to deal with this board.
Yes.
It's just tough to use that Shadow because I think Orange really would have preferred to Shadow Step his Togwaggle to maybe play Crown or even, dare I say it, the Golden Cobalt to find him more value.
Yes, Flick is it's a so expensive card, right? But has to do it.
Yeah, the Zeraku is just too threatening here.
And yeah, Orange now is with a really good shape to win this game, right?
Yeah, he managed to swing back with tempo, get the outcome with the Lackey to make sure the 6/6 gets traded, and he can still attack with the Tog. And now Blow needs to find the next round of answers. At the very least, the Reliquary is a lot of breathing room.
Yeah. And now Orange doesn't have the Blackjack Stunner. Or Bronx is here.
That's pretty big. I'm looking at some lackeys into a big board buff and then trades to allow him to deal with the Reliquary. I mean, Blow will heal for a lot, but it kind of can't be avoided at this point. You can't target it with Sap.
Oh. He does have the Sap. But
Madness. Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. I think he takes that. At least Blow would only heal for 6. And then he goes to 16 for damage plus 6 from Kronks. I think he's like 2 off lethal right now.
Yeah, something like that, Gia.
Oh my.
Yeah. Priest running out of value, Gia. What happened on this game?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you. But there's still some top decks available for the Priest. Let's not count him out just yet. Or is this actually still just lethal and I'm bad at math? Probably. Huh?
I don't know. I don't think so. I'm bad at math, okay? But I don't think it's lethal. Yes, and this is not enough for Blue, Gia.
It's not enough, but he has a chance with Katrina to resurrect his Reliquary. I don't know if that was the out, but he started with the hero power first instead.
Yes, even Reliquary would be enough because of the weapon, right?
Yeah, just doesn't get there. And that's going to be GG in favor of Orange. So the counter queue for Lucky Future doesn't actually get the job done. And that's absolutely huge because in Last Hero Standing, we mention it all the time. If the deck that you're supposing will take the favorable actually ends up losing, you don't have a good counter anymore.
Yes, and now they have to manage to win against this rogue and other classes with the next deck, so it's really difficult for them.
They need to find a deck that can reverse sweep, even if T1 loses the next match, they will have the complete initiative on how they want to counter queue. So to me, Nai, this sounds like Druid time. This is a deck that can win any matchup if you draw well enough, right?
It's true. I'm playing a team tournament as well with some girls,
Mhm.
and last week we lost like 0-4 against Druid because Druid can't do that, right?
Yep. Breath of Dreams, Fungal Fortunes, Glowfly, GG. Well, sometimes there's Mount Seller on the top there, but I fully expect Lucky Future to choose their Druid here. And not just because this is a deck that has a lot of high roll potential, also because I've been hearing that Druid was actually very popular in the Chinese scene before the nerf to Fungal Fortune drop. In their equivalent of Grandmasters, people would be banning Druid even before Warrior. Do you think that that faith in Druid is misplaced now?
Yes, I love Druid. It's my favorite class, and I love to see Druid on tier 1 things like ever. So yeah, I'm really excited to see some Druid gameplay for the Chinese players.
Oh, Nai, if you love Druid, I really hope you watch APAC Grandmasters. I don't know if it's a good time zone for you, but we always have some great Druid action going on. Well, this
Yes, I love
particular
to
list,
see Alutemo playing always.
I'm a fan too. Okay, we have to talk about the particular list though. There's the hybrid druid from Lucky Future, which is not nearly as weird as what T1's druid looks like,
Yeah.
but I'm seeing that there's actually still one copy of Wrath here and one copy of Power of the Wild. Do you prefer having double Power of the Wild instead of the one Wrath?
I like the ref sometime. It depends, right? On the situation. So one of them, one of both, I think it's really fine.
Yeah. The big difference, I suppose, from this druid between druid from last month is that there's the whole dragon package and the Emerald Explorer's Breath of Dreams in particular that take the place of what used to be Rising Winds in the deck. And honestly, even though this deck feels like it has even higher potential, sometimes when I play the hybrid druid, I still find myself missing Rising Winds. Do you think that the consistency of only having 3 dragons in the deck is enough to justify Breath of Dreams?
Yes, I think so. Like it's a draw, right?
Yeah.
So it's okay if it doesn't have a dragon on the hand and you have the potential to draw a dragon, so I think it's fine.
Yeah. I can definitely see that, especially if you top deck the dragon off the top like Tice. We are seeing though Jolang from Team LF will be the third representative. His achievements seem to be a little bit more recent than his 2 teammates, so I expect that this is probably one of the strongest on their team. And according to the Chinese casters, he has his strength in the macro game plan and the deck building. So I'm not necessarily sure if this is the type of pilot you want to have for decks like Rogue, for example, where there's a lot of micro involved. But if you're going for big picture druid type things, like what turn do you ramp, I think it makes a lot of sense for him.
Yes, and we were talking about this matchup as like he was going circling with Druid, and he is.
Yes, indeed. Double Savage Roar has been in the final iterations of this deck. And you know what? There used to be an argument of whether Double Savage Roar was core in Druid, and I don't like anyone that says you should cut Savage Roar. I'm very firm on my opinion on that. What do you think, Nay?
Yes, I love Salvajar. It's sometimes like against aggro decks, you can tempo Salvajar to clean a minion, and it's always helpful, right?
Yeah, I think at the very least, the threat of that consistency makes your opponent play a little bit more scared than usual. But the stats actually show that
Yeah,
the rogue was slightly favored there, and I'm kind of surprised to see that. I can
yeah.
understand if this is because it's hybrid druid, but if we're talking about the older druid, which had no dragons, I think that even does better against rogue because it can be very slow to play one Emerald Explorer against a deck with Blackjack Stunner.
Yes, I think this is the point, Gia. Like the Jack Stunner is the one who makes the deck so good. But if druids ramp, the mod seller and etc. Rogue doesn't have a way to stop that, right?
Yeah.
And this is what we always see in druid.
Yeah.
Let's see if Zulang has the ability to do that.
Well, there's the fungal. That's a pretty good start for him. And even though we talk about how Druid can be liable to get these unstoppable draws sometimes, the converse is true for Rogue also. Because if they start with the coin shadow step, let's say there's an Edwin or a questing adventure in this hand, suddenly
Yeah.
Orange looks unstoppable because Druid has always struggled to deal with single targets. So with that in mind, do you think Orange should keep shadow step even without those big payoff cards?
I don't think so, Gia.
Mm,
Maybe I consider Flick on the hand having the coin,
right.
but other than that, I don't think so. And he kept the
Kept
preparation.
prep. Wow. Of the three cards we were discussing, Flick, Prep, and Shadow Step, I was actually least expecting the Prep to be the keep. I see a lot of Rogue players keeping Flick in this matchup because Glowfly is such a problematic card to deal with otherwise. But in the end, Orange kept the Prep for, I suppose, more flexibility if he picks up Hanar, Secret, and the questing as well. Because Shadow
Yes,
Step, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
and the thing is, yeah, that Druid doesn't have the coin, right? So the
Mhm.
Glowfy wasn't going to be like that big and that early on the game as well. So I think the Flick toss was right.
Yeah, I think you can certainly justify that. The other thing I was going to say about keeping Shadow Step is that it makes a lot more sense if you have a one drop guaranteed to go along with it. Because if you kept Shadow Step and picked up thing, sure, they would go together only if you have another minion, though. So the preparation is a bit more flexible in that regard. But now Orange has cheap stuff, cheap spells, and questing. So what is the game plan now?
I think there is it, Gia. It's a GG for Orange.
Okay. But does it all happen this turn? Because we could see Orange dagger up, then he could go questing coin cat, shadow step cat. Or you could see cat right now, and then the next turn is the questing coin prep seal fate. Do you like that he played the Pharaoh cat right now?
Yes, I like it because it deals with the thing that Zulang doesn't want to spend his mana dealing with
Oh.
the cat. So now Orange has a really big turn because he can do all that you said and shadow step the cat. And yeah.
Absolutely huge. Yeah, you're right. Orange wasn't expecting Zhou Lang to deal with a cat because it's not very threatening, and also he'd rather fungal. But even though this is gonna be a huge questing, Zhou Lang has picked up his Glowfly Swarm and Innervate. So even if he
Yeah.
can't answer the questing, he can build a big board to contest.
Yes, and because of that, I don't know if Orange will go with the coin, but he is going to, because he could kept the coin to make the glow fight with the Seal of Fate, but he have faith that Zulang will not have the glow fights.
Right. I mean, even if it's there. Oh, wait.
Oh, he is
Yeah.
dealing with,
This I'm
but he's
actually
spending a lot of
honestly
resource here.
he wanted to do this even before the top deck because he already had the bog beam option, right? So he had his mind made up before the turn was done. I feel
Yeah.
like it was not that simple. I didn't hate the look of going for the glowflies there, even though the questing got really big, sure. You probably expect Orange to have limited ways to buff it in the following turn, at most like +3/+3, right? So
Yeah.
do you think that was too much respect from Jolang?
Yes, I think so. I think the Glowfy was a secure choice because Orange wasn't on the flicky turn, so I don't know if I like it, that kind of respect, because in the worst of cases you can trade, right?
Yeah. And at the very least, I think Jolang could have expected three or four of his glowflies to survive on the previous turn had he played it, and then his top decks of either Savage or Power of the Wild could have gotten a lot better. But we can see now, Orange,
Yeah.
had he not drawn this Edwin, would still be like not in the greatest spot because of Jolang's play. But because the second round of threats is there, I think Jolang doesn't have a good way out of this anymore.
Yes, I think so. And now with the rush minions, he can deal with like the biggest part of the board. So yeah, the backstab helped a lot as well. Yeah.
This looks like mega GG. I don't know.
Yes, it's a mega GG.
What's this, 12-12? I didn't count.
No,
Not that big. Okay, 8-8. I mean, I overestimated, but it might as well be a 12-12 at this point. Jolang doesn't have mana to even play Overflow at this point.
Yes, what are the ramps, Gia?
No ramp, you're right. There is a way to deal with the Edwin. So you can survive. Just Bog Beam and some trades and the Moonfire perhaps. Or he can go for a wider play. Okay.
Yes.
So this type of play of not respecting the big minion and instead taking advantage of the wide board is what I would have preferred to see a while ago. But Jolang going for it here as opposed to the clear, I think still makes some sense.
Yes. And not a big GG yet because he has the overflow on the next turn. So we have a game here yet.
Do we though? It's another questing for Orange. I'm surprised he's not starting with it. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought he wasn't gonna play questing this turn, but it looks far too good to pass up. And
yes,
also,
it doesn't make sense. He doesn't have to because he has the amount of mana.
And all these reborn minions that he picked up from the Pharaoh Cats have been very cheap. It's just so much synergy. Gets a good buff on the cat. Now the cat can take a value trade as well.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Stop. He's already dead. Okay. Maybe not 100% dead. If we see this overflow give Mount Seller and some amazing outcomes, if Jolang is not yet immediately dead, there's a chance, right?
Yes, because here he has the overflow plus the bug beam and the moonfire to deal with the questing and another minion on board. And there's not that much damage from Orange side, so if he can manage to do a really good turn on the way back with the Mount Seller plus the taunt and stuff like that, and if he managed to keep like some rush minions, he have a chance, right?
Yes, it's there, and he holds on to the Moonfire for that reason. Oh my gosh, Togwaggle off the top, also very strong for Orange. Of course, you can't play the one immediately, but it's just a good body to put on board. Whereas the Galakrond has not been invoked that much yet, I think.
Yes, and he knows that probably now they will go with some minions on board, so I think the Tog is a really good choice here.
There's also a question of how he wants to trade. We could see the Rush Lackey and then Grand Mummy go in so he can get an immediate buff on his leftmost minions. But at this point, I think he doesn't need to trade at all. Or you can take a value trade and not get rid of his smaller minions.
Yes, I would go with the Pharaoh Cat on the Trent. For sure.
Some slight hesitation for Orange. I think it's always one, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I would consider Crown for 2 seconds and then tell myself
no
nonsense, you know. Okay, I like the trade because of possible Savage Roar outs with the Mount Seller. Oh wait, there's not enough mana?
No, there's no mana because he didn't ramp up this game.
Unbelievable. What kind of druid does that?
Yeah. Okay, even with the taunt.
I mean, he has to taunt the Mount Seller now, right? None of the other minions are big enough to protect him from lethal.
Yes, and taunting the Mount Seller isn't lethal for Orange yet. Yes, he has to make the toggle will spell now and try to get some sap or even flick.
Yeah, there's so many good outcomes here for Orange. He needs very, very little extra damage to find the lethal. So
Yeah.
one Kobold Laki would be lethal because he has backstab, I think.
Mm-hmm. Okay, not quite.
Okay, there it
Oh,
is.
this is it.
Yep. So just a backstab, trade Edwin, a dagger, and then he can put 8 attack worth of minions into face and finish off with a Kobold Laki. That's a clean rogue sweep, Nai.
Yeah, really clean for T1. And we are seeing now for the first time they are managing to win against China.
Yeah, I mean, this is the complete opposite of what we were seeing yesterday from Liquid. Is there something I'm missing? Orange is going about this really
No.
slowly.
Yeah.
I mean, he can just dagger. That works too, right? Dagger
Yeah.
Laki. Okay, he was just making absolutely sure. Okay. But I have to say, that's really rough for Lucky Future there because I think they felt pretty confident about the Priest queuing into Rogues, especially seeing how Priest was the hero for Team IG yesterday. Do you think that Priest is always so polarizing? That's my experience when I play it.
Yes. I told Language Hacker yesterday that when I play Priest, I always feel like I'm unfavorable, but always when I play against Priest, I feel unfavorable. So yeah, I don't know. But yeah, Team 1 got the win 3-0 straight with Rogue.
That's really impressive. And at the beginning, when we were talking about the classes that are most likely to be banned, we always said Demon Hunter, Hunter, Warrior. I wonder if people should have also been thinking of Rogue as a fourth class to ban. We saw a lot of Quest Warlock bans instead, which I think is also very powerful. But if we look at win rate, at least in terms of the most recent Masters Tour, Rogue was also performing very, very well. Granted, this is
Yes.
LHS, different format, so there's a lot of opinions to be had.
Yes, and actually Team 1 banned the Rogue of Luck Future, right? So yes, it's a class to look up.
Yeah, if you're banning that away and you see your opponent, wait, ours is left up, we're queuing that up, and you can see the result right here. 3 fat W's in favor of the Rogue. So that's going to be huge for T1. Bear in mind, they also had a very good performance in Battlegrounds. I think they are the top Battlegrounds team just by a little bit over G2 for today, at least in Group B. So T1 is already looking super strong. We're going to see more from them in 2 days, but after this is another constructed match between schedule right here.
It's G2 against WE, and now it's time for T.
TTTT.
Nice going to yes.
Okay, so that is going to be another fun series to look forward to. I'm going to give you guys a chance to have a little bit of a breather. I myself am done for the day, so everybody can look forward to Nai and Language Hacker casting the last series for the day. So thanks so much for hanging out with me, Nai. We'll see you guys later. Don't go anywhere during this break.